Hi, welcome. This is Simon de Paul. You're listening to the Shapeshifters podcast. This is going to be the first episode that we conduct in English. My guest today is Jeff Coby, also a professional basketball player and longtime friend from Maodo Lô. Both of them studied at Columbia University, and he's been definitely coming around. He had a short stint in the NBA, also played in Europe, in Spain, and he wants to take us on his journey of how mindfulness and meditation and sports helped him achieve all the great goals that he has already accomplished. And we will also be talking about his book that is soon going to come out that also deals with these topics. So stay tuned. A lot of key insights again. And let's go. So is it like the first podcast for you actually that you ever speak on, or did you ever go on a show up to now?
I've done like one other one, and then like I've interviewed two, I was gonna say monks, but they're actually Buddhist priests over in Japan before I came back to the States.
Oh, sick. Did you go like up to one of like the monasteries and met up with them?
It was like an hour out of the city that I was living in Yamaguchi. So it was Yamaguchi City was the name of the place, and we went to one of their sanctuaries and had a great conversation.
So did you have to like climb 1,000 stairs, or was it not that bad?
No, everything was good. Everything was on the first floor, thank God.
Nice. Now, so like we met the first time like 2013, 2014, I believe, in New York.
Yep.
When I was visiting Maodo.
Exactly. Yeah.
I still remember vividly, like being in the Columbia gym, watching some games. It was pretty sick.
Yeah.
I think back then you were still like a junior.
Yeah.
Because you came 1 year later than Maodo.
Yeah.
Columbia, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What a great time.
For sure. And then you also came through like to Berlin previously as well, right?
Yeah, I came I think in 2014. Yeah.
Okay, so shortly after.
Exactly. So he showed me around and it was awesome.
Nice. How do you like Berlin up to now? Do you enjoy it?
I love it. It's awesome. I have a great time every time, eat well, quality conversations, see art, and just be a tourist.
But I mean, you also always kind of come at the perfect timing, because it's always like summer, spring, that time. So
timing is everything.
I wanted to say, I mean, because Berlin is in winter, it's definitely like a different ball game.
I could imagine.
Cold as hell. But I mean, who I'm talking to, it's like from New York.
It gets cold there.
But you were born and raised in Florida, right?
I was born in Virginia, Fairfax County, and raised in Florida.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you also play high school ball over there?
Yep, I played at Sagemont, the upper school, and then I did a year of prep school at Choate Rosemary Hall over in Connecticut.
Nice. How was that? Prep school is always like a good way for hoopers that maybe didn't get the spotlight at high school, at the high school level, to like show out, get better.
I would say half and half. The reason why I went to prep school was because I had this, desire to go to a high major school. And, once, reality set in that, only the mid-major D1s and the Ivy League was recruiting me, I had to, take that hard look in the mirror and, figure out what I was going to do. Because, in high school, I had a fair amount of offers. However, it wasn't what I wanted. So I figured, if I can get to the Ivy League, it's the best of both worlds, Division I and a quality education. So, in high school, it was just my focus for like standardized testing was not really there because I was so one-sided when it came to basketball. So, I basically, I was speaking to Columbia, Princeton a lot, and, push came to shove, and you get to take this standardized test called the SAT or the ACT, and they have this whole thing called the academic index, and basically they like rank you get like a number based off of your GPA and your test scores. So my GPA was high, my test scores were a little. So basically I went to prep school to retake the SAT and ACT again so I can get a higher score to get admitted into Columbia.
It's interesting. It's kind of also a similar route that Maodo took, because his IB, which he did here in Berlin, was also from the scores not that high. Mm-hmm. So he also took that year at prep school, also just like to work on his game, get accustomed to like the American system of playing ball.
Definitely.
So I think that's a pretty good route for a lot of hoopers
that are
young, who maybe don't get like the offer right away from high school, right? For
sure. It definitely helps. And also, like, you know, anything could happen, you know, and it really just teaches you to like handle success, because I went into prep school already committed to Columbia. So like I knew I was going to college. So I just, at that point, I really had to just maintain a quality GPA, but then just work really hard at that score while also like performing on the court. Yeah.
It kind of also gives you the perspective of how it's going to be at a Ivy League college, right? If you study at an Ivy League college, obviously academically they ask a lot more from you than any other college, obviously. Like
definitely.
For example, Memphis.
Exactly.
People to write your tests.
Right,
I don't think that what really works at the Ivy League colleges, right?
Absolutely not.
So I can imagine. So it's always good to like slowly get accustomed to like completely,
of course,
in the blue when you arrive.
Yeah, definitely. Ask Maodo. He was doing the homework before an NBA workout the day. Yeah, literally. Crazy. Like I was just like, I remember like, cause his where we had a house in New York, and his room was like across from mine, and I was like walking to the dining hall, and I see him just like studying, and I'm like, bro, aren't you about to work out with the Sixers in like a couple hours? Like, what? What's going on?
You're not taking it serious?
But I mean, it's when we were there in 2015, Columbia got voted the most rigorous curriculum in the country, and we all felt it. Like,
I can imagine.
Yeah, so it really just like made you put into perspective how to manage your time and just like your focus as well, because like you don't really have much time to waste, because you being an athlete is like another job.
Obviously that's really quite an accomplishment, and to still be successful in your studies, and at the same time like training twice a day probably, or at least once for like 3 hours. That's pretty tough. It's amazing, definitely. I have to say, like, it's definitely not a cross that I would have liked to carry, for sure. But how was it in general, like playing also with like Maodo? I mean, obviously, the two of you also got like close friends. How was it like meeting him at Columbia? Was he like in the beginning more like the shy guy that we sometimes know from here? Or?
Definitely. I mean, he was just very like. Maodo's Maodo, man. That's
like focused.
Just very focused, very disciplined, great role model. I was super blessed to have had him to like learn from, in my journey of, being a college athlete to a professional. I definitely learned a lot from him. And also just playing with him. That guy's talented. He's super talented.
Absolutely.
And like calm, composed, and very I really liked how he wasn't scared to be a leader. And, a lot of people in America, they lead like with their voice, but he was the one who really led with his actions. And that's like very refreshing, as like a young athlete to see, because you tend to kind of like inadvertently like model yourself around that, in certain aspects. And I really loved, his work ethic, like, and after practice we'll play ones, we'll play twos, like it was just it was fun, and like it was a really like special experience, and to see him just go off for like 35 against Princeton, just like lights out, just cat. I'm like,
I mean, there's also this infamous game against
Kentucky.
Against Kentucky. Against the Twins.
The Twins, Carl Anthony Towns, like a bunch of. They had so many NBA players on that one roster.
And he just like balled out on that big stage.
I'm like, he's special. He's different. He's different.
For sure. Yeah. And just like being also in the Big Apple to study and play ball.
Yeah.
Did you actually also get to experience New York in that
Definitely.
sense? Like being in that
Yeah.
special city that has,
Yeah.
I mean, we all know it from Hollywood, from the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the city where you have like all the opportunities.
Oh, absolutely.
And you really could enjoy that as well on the side.
Definitely. So my parents actually met in New York. They both went to college in New York. And so I naturally have like a fair amount of family in New York, but like my interests, you know, they lie in like creativity, art, fashion, like, you know, stuff like that at that time. So, you know, I was more, because where Columbia is located, it's on the Upper West Side, Morningside Heights. But I resonated more with like the downtown vibe, and, you know, it fit me more. So, you know, I you know, when I had free time, I would, you know, venture out and, you know, made friends down there with the NYU people, the Parsons, the FIT, and it was
Parsons is the only female school, right? Is it?
No, it's co-ed. It's co-ed.
Oh, okay. Oh no, Barnard. I'm talking
Barnard.
Barnard.
Yeah, Barnard is was the sister school of Columbia.
Yeah, that's the one that I was talking about.
I studied art history, so a lot of my classes were at Barnard.
Okay.
So yeah, I really got to, you know, go to fashion shows, which was nice. To see a lot of like creatives working, art galleries, exhibitions. Yeah, it was just I really enjoyed that experience. I felt like I had a good mix of both worlds, like the college town and like the NYC.
Most of the colleges that you usually go to, they don't really you don't really have the opportunity to really venture out and open your horizon, just like apart from school and maybe the sports that you're actually playing, right?
Yeah, because it's more like towns, and you have like a small town. Well, it really just depends on like what school you go to, but that's typically the, you know, the landscape of it.
So in your last senior year, you also started, right?
Yeah.
And averaged around like 6 points, 5 boards, like 16 minutes.
Yeah.
How was your role on that team, and how did it like kind of carve your way into the professional side of like basketball?
I would say it was like looking back at it, you know, there was just a lot of confusion going on, because at the time, you know, we had such a structured organization, and, you know, it was just, we're just coming off of the CIT championship, you know, Maodo's senior year, my junior year, like, you know, it was great. You know, we had great chemistry, that team. It was really a special experience. But then after we won, our whole coaching staff gone. New job. I
mean, obviously, if you're successful, often you get better offers, right?
Oh, of course, of course. And that's like the, you know, the transition in college sports. So, you know, once that happened, we had a new coach coming in, and I was very iffy about staying to play, because it's like, it's my senior year, like, you know, I want like a very prominent role. And, you know, the way, like, after it was all said and done, you know, I just felt like that wasn't enough. You know, the way we were playing was very all over the place. Like, we lacked a lot of structure. And, you know, in the college space, like the college, you know, sport, you need some structure, cohesion, chemistry, and you need an identity, you know. And
I mean, it's very team basketball oriented,
of course,
type of basketball,
especially in the Ivy
college,
League.
Especially in the Ivy League.
So
you need that structure as a team. It's not like very free flowing. You kind of like need to run good sets.
Absolutely,
everyone needs to be on the same page.
So when, you know, we lacked a couple of those things, and, you know, and it's not to say, you know, not blaming that on the coach, but, you know, there was a lot of moving parts that were going on, and, you know, it's hard to, like, you know, spend your last year with a completely new coaching staff and, you know, expect to see some success. So you know, me and the other seniors, we talked it out, and we basically were like, hey, like, you know, because I was going to transfer, I was going to be the first one out.
Was it that easy to transfer back then as well?
yes and no. Because my high school coach was like, he was like very prominent in my recruiting process, and he's very, connected in that space. So,
very
we had
adamant about like how your career goes. Okay.
Exactly. So he, we had a long conversation. We had some options, but at the end of the day, I was just like, worst comes to worst, I get an Ivy League degree,
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's always like something to fall back on.
Exactly. So, I spoke to the other seniors, and we basically said like, hey man, at least, we have each other, we can do it together. And then, if anything, like after college, like if we really want to go pro, we can figure it out. Let's just keep each other accountable, work hard, and, just push from there. So after the season, I felt like, when you like eat a meal and like you're still hungry. That's exactly how I felt. I'm like, yo, I'm not done. Like, you know what I mean? Like this can't be it. This absolutely cannot be it. So,
I mean, you put all that work in, all these years, especially, I think the pressure that you also put on yourself when it's your senior year is like, basically that's where the way parts between, okay, am I really going to be like going to like working into the working world, or can I still like kind of chase my dream as like as a professional athlete? So there's a lot of hope in that last year, right?
Definitely.
That you kind of put in there. So if it doesn't go the way you expected, it's like it's a bitter pill to swallow, I can imagine.
Oh, 100%. And there was times where I just didn't know if I was going to go pro or not. Like I was just like, I mean, my stats kind of suck, but I know I'm a pro. Like in the back of my mind, it's like I know I can play. It's just this, the system that I was playing in just didn't really complement me that well. And like there was just a lot of confusion and stuff going on where, it was just like, man, this isn't the style that I want to play in. So I kind of just kept that hunger. And, all my classmates were like, so getting ready to go to JP Morgan, McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, this, that, the whole nine. And they're like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to go pro. And they would look at me crazy. They'd be like,
of course. I mean,
pro, like, what do you mean?
I mean,
pro?
It's still D1 and still averaging like decent numbers in a small time frame of playing minutes. So
for sure.
But of course, it's not like the looks that you would get if you were dropping like 15 and 10.
Oh, 100%. And I had to accept that. I really had to. I had to accept, the past, and it's not easy to come to terms with, but the quicker you can accept, I would say, the quicker you can accept that, the faster you'll be able to move on. And you need that, to be able to just turn the page. So, once that I like came to terms with what was going on, like, my reality at the time, I was like, okay, look, I have drive, I have a network, I need to make something, with what's in front of me. So I did that. And one of my classmates, my teammate was actually dating her, and her dad was an agent. So I went up, spoke to him, and we figured something out. And then from there I was just like, I'm just gonna work on all my weaknesses, and then let's see how let's see what happens. Let's see what comes about from this.
So you basically graduated, and then that summer you said, okay, like let me really dial in on like fixing all my weaknesses. Now you got the agent. And then you kind of end up in Spain for your first professional career, right?
Definitely.
So you actually make the jump over the pond, which is, I think for a lot of Americans, it's still like kind of something they always see as like a huge adventure, which a lot of players actually kind of don't want to do if it's not like the highest league that they can play in.
For sure.
But you ended up at CB Pret, Juventud in Spain, right? In the second league.
Yeah.
And how was that? Like how did it come about? And also if there are like other young youth athletes that want to like make that jump over the pond, what are like some tips or advice that you would give?
I would say the first thing is you need to start training with pros. That's like number one. And also just like getting in that sphere of like the summer leagues and stuff like that, these combines, these camps, like, because basically that's what I did. You know, that was like our shot in the dark. Like, you know, I spoke to the agent and he was like, you know, I actually got you sponsored for this league called the GBSL. It was in Las Vegas. It was at the same time as NBA Summer League. So I went there, and I had been training a lot before then. And I went there, and, you know, I really just like thought in my mind, like, you're at a summer league, and 9 times out of 10, everybody here, they want to just gun. They want to go shoot, you know, chase stats, XYZ. They're gonna be a lot of, there's gonna be a lot of, I would say, like, some of the players would be a little anxious. You know, they're very hungry to do things, get blocks, jump for pump fakes, like stuff like that. So I really just focused on my preparation leading up to that. And, you know, push came to shove, and I really surprised myself. I played pretty well. I got first team all tournament, both sessions. And from there I was like, oh wow, I knew I could play, and, you know, it's finally showing. And that's at a summer league, so that's, you know, you have all types of players there.
I mean, often when players get looked at here, and not just in Germany but Europe, these summer league tapes actually do also matter, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So were those tapes then used from the tournaments to
definitely
make sure that you got that first contract?
They definitely looked at them, and they also looked at the write-up to see what kind of player I was. I was speaking to one of the coaches. I forget the name of the team he was coaching for, but it was in France, like their top division. And he was actually kind of like guiding me a little bit in terms of like the European market, because, you know, there's people from Greece, Cyprus, very close. And like they were approaching me, but, you know, I'm so brand new, I don't know what's going on. You know, it's always good to have that second voice of reason. And you know, from there, my agent, you know, basically pitched me to the team in Barcelona, and, you know, we just made it happen one way or another. And also it helps that I have dual citizenship. So I was able to go play in Spain as a local or Contenu player.
Okay, is that because you got the Haitian passport as well?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was good. That helps my case a lot.
No, of course. I mean, that's often you only have like one spot, right, for an American player. So
it's like one or two.
So I mean, it's really valuable if you can play as like a whole local player.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And just through that first season, like personally, I mean, you're still very young. You're on your own in another city. So the season is going about. I mean, you get playing time. How was just like the feel of the first season, and how was it very pivotal for your own personal growth at the same time? Because when we talked, that was like kind of the time when you started being more mindful about the whole process of being a professional athlete and really playing your sport. So just take us through it.
I mean, you know, you
went through it.
Yeah, of course, I went through it. You know, you're a young guy, you know, in this beautiful new city. At first it was really good, because like the other imports were very like open-minded. They were very like very cool. We all got along pretty well, and also even with the Spanish players. So it was a really, you know, fun experience at first. We're just pretty competitive too. Like that was a good thing as well. And like everyone there was talented. So it was definitely nice. You know, the season was good. At first, season was good. At first we were hooping. We were like beating a lot of teams. We developed this crazy chemistry so quickly. And like, I don't know if it's like part of like the Spanish or European culture, But we did like a fair amount of like team bonding, like team bonding, like excursions.
I want to say like activities besides like hooping in the gym.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I don't know, like go play bowling, go to the cinema, or
so we do like dinners. We went and played like beach volleyball together. Nice. It's so random, but like and then you know you're going to conditioning together, running on the track. Like it was very like I could tell like they were really like pushing this idea of the team, which I really liked because you know that's how you win championships, when you have chemistry and like.
Of course. Usually that actually takes like years. If you look, for example, at the Golden State Warriors, I mean, that's something that was built over 5 years, 6 years. And at some point, everyone knows each other. Everyone is like clicking on the same cylinders.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at like hooping, you know, that's like, then it becomes art.
It makes sense. And it's to me, like, you know, part of the reason why I play basketball is just like, you know, having that like second sense of proficiency where like the chemistry is just at the forefront. Like I know like if I hit a certain move, I know like somebody's like dragging from, you know, the corner. Like I don't even have to look. I can just throw it there, you know, hit him in the pocket for a shot. Like, you know, certain things, like knowing where people are and like your teammates getting you the ball in the right spots, like, and also just like the extra hustle, you know, when the momentum changes in your favor, like, and everyone's hyped, like screaming, like that stuff to me is art. That's beautiful. But yeah, at the beginning of the season, that's how we were playing everything. I felt like I was like in a little fairy tale. It's like, whoa, I just went from, you know, a mediocre senior year to this, and you know I'm playing well and I'm a professional at this time. So I'm looking in the mirror like, yo, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like
dreams actually do come
exactly, because like, you know, in college I used to go through it like with all these inconsistencies, you know, with like my performance, and you know it's not a good feeling. So like my biggest thing was like I want to be like steady. You know, that was like in the back of my mind, like no matter like where I played, I just really wanted to just, you know, do well, but then like just stay consistent. And, you know, I felt like I was on track, you know, in Spain, in Barcelona at the time. But, you know, after, you know, the preseason, we ended up playing FC Barcelona in the championship. And I started that game. I remember we played, I forget the name of the stadium, but my dad actually flew from Miami to come watch that game. And it was such a magical experience. Like he got to see his son from Colombia to, you know, a bigger stage playing against FC Barcelona, like for a championship. And, you know, when the final buzzer rang and, you know, it's like we won, it was just such a crazy like moment and experience. Like it's really hard to put into words. It's like I kind of get goosebumps even reliving that moment. But like
I do get as well.
Bro.
I can just imagine that moment. That must be
of course
ridiculous. I'm like a huge advocate for like trying to still like chase your dreams, and if 100%. If it happens like to that extent, that's like I love those are the stories that I love, you know.
100%.
So I can only imagine how that must have felt.
Definitely, and it was just like you see like the whole organization like screaming and like they're speaking Spanish, Catalan. My dad, he's super loud, so like he's like like, you know, just living his best life at this point. And, you know, that was a very magical moment. And, you know, at first I was just like, this can't be real. Like I'm looking around like, but then after, you know, the first couple minutes where my teammate just grabs me and my other teammate grabs me, I get pushed. I'm like, yo, all right, yeah, this is real now. And, you know, because I don't want to get too high, you know, because when you get too high, like, you know, the fall is a lot, you know, harder.
Of course.
But, you know, it's one of those situations where you just had to enjoy that moment. But following up from that was when, you know,
after the highs,
that is like, that low was very low. I was like, okay, like it doesn't, you know, it didn't really make too much sense.
So basically you got like playing time got like reduced more and more.
Yeah.
You didn't play the role that you played in the beginning of the season,
Exactly.
although everything was like going perfect in your mind.
Exactly.
So I mean, how did you like handle that situation?
Yeah, it was, you know, it like I understand, like, you know, coaches, they test you, you know, to like see your mental toughness, you know, what you're made of, are you resilient, you know, stuff like that. But to me, like at first, it just felt like bullying, you know, like I'm like, yo, what? Like read the room, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those situations. And I'm not saying I'm the most talented player, but like I felt like I really adopted the way of like the style of play. Like I'm not a selfish player. In most cases I pass first, but I was just being very efficient at the time.
So you're basically playing the role that you have in that team to the best capabilities
of
that
course,
you can, right?
Of course. And also just I have a lot of energy. So like, you know, I'm crashing the glass. I'm getting extra opportunities. Like you want, and playing defense too. So you want somebody on the court like that.
I mean, you see how detrimental, for example, Draymond is. He exactly does all these little
100%.
things that kind of give so much to a championship team, right? Because that's not everyone does that. I know that from my own experience. Like playing hard defense, crashing the glass, like you say. Setting hard screens.
Diving on the floor for loose ball. I think at that time I was averaging like 2 steals a game or something like that. So like I'm dialed in on both sides of the court, you know. Not versus, but it was very like distasteful, you know, because it's like I'm doing everything and more, you know, and also because I'm hungry, like I want this, I want to move up, and you know, the games just were crazy. Like there was times I wouldn't play, there's times I'll play like 5 minutes, there's times I'll play 10, 2, like the minutes were like exactly what was happening in college, and that gave me the crazy PTSD because I'm like, yo, I worked so hard to not do any of that and to put that behind me. And, you know, I went and I spoke to him, and basically, you know, there were times where I'd just get yelled at, that I wasn't focused, this, that, just little things, to the point that, you know, my teammates were like coming up to me and saying, yo, like, what did you do? Like, did you like commit a crime or something? Like, we just don't understand.
With his wife? Or
Something crazy. Like, and I'm like, bro, like, you know what I do? I chill, play video games with my homies in America. I go to a little cafe by my apartment, like chill, go practice my Spanish, like just random stuff. Like I'm in a new country. And push came to shove, and there was just this, you know, stretch of me being like, okay, I can either self-destruct or
just being frustrated.
Yeah, or I can grind through it and figure something out. So, you know, I went through that phase of just like escapism, like where you go to the parties, the this, the that, and like check out. But then I quickly snapped back into it, and I'm like, that's not who I am. Who I grind, and you know, I make progress towards like success or whatever it is that I want. And I started doing that. I normally I would stay after practice, but now I just started coming earlier and staying later, just like really working on my game and just tuning everyone out, and just like trying to do what was asked of me and be respectful. And even that, you know, at the end of the day, he came up to me and was like, hey, I'm sorry, but I just can't play you here. I have to play this other player. And it was not, and he's like, and he just looked at me like that. It's like, I don't know if you want to stay. What do you want to do? And it kind of broke my heart at that point. I was just like, what? Like, I just came all the way from America to here to thinking that I'm going to help this team win a championship or something. And speaking of which, we just won the preseason, you know, and I pretty much played a vital role in that whole progression. And it was just like,
it was not enough in his eyes or in management.
Yeah, it's just out of my control at that point. And I tried everything.
I think it's such a key component of maturing as a player, being able to handle a situation like that, because I can guarantee you, but I can tell you, but most of the players are in that situation. Like having the perfect situation as a player is very, very rare, I believe. So at some point you kind of have to get accustomed to that side of the game.
Yeah.
And either it makes you or it breaks you.
Definitely.
So that's something that I always admire at like professional athletes, that they have this mindset that it doesn't really matter what someone else like which kind of shackles he puts upon you when you're playing the game. You can maybe not see the court, you always still stay professional, you still come to training, you still give all that you got. And maybe next year it's all looking very differently. And I mean, that's kind of the case or that's what actually happened to you at the same time, right?
Definitely.
So you end up going to Cambados Cidade for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, sure.
Averaging like 15 and 10 over there, kind of like getting back into your groove.
Of course.
And then so the season was over, then you head back to the States. And how was that summer? Do you try to say, okay, I'm gonna lock in, get even better, see what my opportunity is then?
You know, one key element that I really wanted to, touch upon in that whole process was, at that time in Barcelona, I was completely like broken, lost. I didn't know what to do. I'm alone. Your teammates are, pretty, not strangers, but, you don't really know them like that. So, I'm calling my parents, like trying to get advice, calling my agent. And it just wasn't the right, like all the answers were like, work harder. Let me talk to him, like XYZ. Like it wasn't like the amount of action wasn't being, like the necessary steps to get to what I wanted just didn't feel like it was in alignment. So it was funny. This one afternoon after practice, I go to my computer and I just type in, what do successful people do when faced with hardship? And I come across this article from the Harvard Business Review. And basically it's, just the overall gist of the article was just basically talking about mindfulness and meditation and how the most successful CEOs and leaders do it. So I was just like, I got a little curious. So I read the article and I, was just thinking back to my head and just thinking back and I'm like, what? Like, does that like actually work?
Does that actually like solve real problems?
Yeah. Like, because like from a glance, and when you're completely ignorant on this topic aside from like prayer, like it's hard to even like gauge the the power of this one practice. So I tried it, and then after I open your eyes, I'm just like, oh, okay. And then I ended up getting more curious about it. So I kept researching, go down the YouTube rabbit hole, go look at all these different articles and stuff like that. And, basically it showed you all the benefits. And then I just, kept doing it weirdly. And, the more you understand that the consistency part of it, you start seeing the benefits. Because at that point, I felt really heavy. I felt, just like I felt kind of like a failure, so
just having a heavy heart.
Exactly.
Things are not working the way you expected them.
Exactly. And I'm a very passionate person. So like I wear my emotions, with me on my sleeve. So, after I started doing that, I started to become a little bit more like composed. Like I wasn't very like, I wasn't very triggered all the time. And, I had these like reoccurring visions of just me in an NBA jersey. And the color orange was on it. And it was just really weird. And I was kind of scratching my head, like, why are these even like coming about? And I'm in the Leb Gold of Spain. And, from there, it was just, I learned about the noting technique and meditation where you just like take a mental note of, no judgment at all. You just, keep it pushing. And, from there, I took that practice with me to, the second team that I went to in Cambados, and I saw my progress just go up aside from one bad game. Just, it was on a steady incline. And I was just like, no, that article was right. This actually works. And, I took that with me to that summer, and I just really incorporated that process aside, and I coupled it with writing too, because I needed
writing your journal.
Yeah, my journal.
How do you go about it? So you started the meditation with like daily a minute or 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
So at first,
writing a page before going to bed, or
so basically I started because the reason why I wanted to do meditation was because I needed to ground myself. When you're in the age of social media, you have this person that doing that, this, that, and the third, and it's you, and then you kind of inadvertently compare yourself to other people, and then you're kind of like on that trajectory of like living like other people's lives and sometimes yours, and it's just a whole bunch of confusion. And I wanted that confusion out. I wanted to take control of my life. So I was really using it to ground myself and to give me direction. So, I would basically, I wake up, eat breakfast, chill a little bit. Then I would do meditation, or I'd either do it before breakfast or after. So I do meditation, and then I would couple it with just journaling. Okay. Just free write, word vomit. Don't care about spelling, don't care about grammar. Sometimes I'd write, sometimes it'll be on my iPad. That's it. Just get it out, and just by doing that, I was able to gain so much clarity. I kind of took myself out of that victim mindset of why is this coach and team treating me unfairly, as opposed to I'm a creator. Like, I'm here. I have two hands. I have a body that works, a mind. I can still create things, and that's a blessing in and of itself. And I kind of like pushed that negative energy aside, and I became a little bit more lighter. And, it just made me get in tune to myself so much more. And also my confidence went up because I was so much more secure with myself. And, from there, it was just like that transition to the national team. And I didn't have to go in there trying to fit in. It was just like me being me, and I'm here.
Being present.
Exactly. Being in the moment.
Just taking the best out of the opportunity that you had.
Definitely.
At hand.
Definitely.
Nice.
Definitely.
I still struggle with like meditating. It's like, I haven't started the practice yet, but I often hear that it definitely has like huge benefits, and definitely. I can tell that you're very passionate about it, and
for sure,
really advocate the benefits of it. So I'll also definitely get on the grind. For
definitely,
sure.
Definitely.
So you start practicing all these mental sides of the game, and just like the personal growth aspect, and you take all that and take it back home to the US in that summer. And now like the crazy part kind of begins, right?
Yeah.
So you start, you basically told me that like one day your agent calls and said, do you want to work out with the New York Knicks?
Yeah.
So first of all, what do you think when you got that phone call? That must have been absolutely ridiculous.
I just want to say that situation is truly a testament to, one, betting on yourself, and two, like diligent, consistent, hard work. Like, because in my mind, I feel like this universe, our world favors the hardworking and the skilled. And at that point, like, I felt like I've already accumulated so many hours or minutes in meditation that like my intuition was very strong. So, after the whole season, my agent got me, the agent that I had at the time got me an opportunity to play in Denmark, the first league. And I wrote that down as one of my goals, is like, I want to play in a first league somewhere, anywhere, doesn't matter, as long as it's a first league. And we went over, we did the verbal commitment, but it did not feel right with me in my gut. Absolutely didn't feel right. And you know, I was getting that feeling for a reason. Because, I was talking to the coach and they were kind of like, iffy, not iffy, but like you can hear the uncertainty in his voice of like, am I going to be a key player for that next season? So, what did I do? I went, it was a span of like 2 days. I hit up everybody I knew, literally just anybody in the sports world that they got a text or a phone call from me. Just like, yo, like, do you have an agent? Do you have any advice? This, that, just, it was probably a list of like 150 people, like really on some like persistent, like, oh, I need to do something now. Like for that one woman who you always had a crush on, like shoot your shot, like exactly me. And one of my good friends, Tristan, he trained with him. He's from the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia, the DMV as well. Trained with him over in Orlando before. And he was just like, yo, you should have a conversation with my agent. And I was like, word. All right. Absolutely. And, we spoke, we had a very lengthy conversation. I told him everything that was going on and whatnot. Then he basically advised me not to go to Denmark. And I was like, you know what? Like, this feels right. Like, you don't need to rush the decision. And then, so basically I told Denmark like 2 days before that I was going to come, but I was feeling terrible about it. So once that happened, I ended up terminating my agreement with the previous agent. And then I had to tell them the next day that I wasn't going to come, that, it's not going to work out. I can't sign this. And then literally 2 days later, I get a call from my current agent at the time. And he asked me, would you like to go work out with the Knicks? And I was just like, wow, like talk about full circled, right? Like, you remember I'm telling you, I'm having these visions of like work, like on an NBA court with a jersey that has orange on it. I don't know which team I was thinking at the time, like the Phoenix Suns. But that's what was happening. And then now I get this call to do this.
So basically all the puzzle pieces kind of like coming together.
It literally sounds crazy, like absolutely nuts. But that's, that was the reality of it. And I went to the workout, and to this day, I don't even know how I like play. I played in a sense that was very like comparable to the other players. Like I felt like I was more of a compliment versus like stepping on other people's toes. So I think that was the reason why they liked me. And also I just played really hard.
So basically, how is it to train with like an NBA organization? Could you like sleep the night before? Because I would not be able to.
I went rogue during that time. I was very like removed from, the social world. It took me a while to sleep the night before, but the training was, all throughout Manhattan. So basically we were doing like private workouts, which consisted of skill work, 5-on-5 and conditioning on some of the days. So we trained 3 times a week, sometimes 4. And then we started at, I think, Baruch College. And then we went to Columbia and then Madison Square Garden Training Facility, which is like north in White Plains, New York. And that was like gorgeous.
You have all the recovery tools that you can imagine. You need a massage, come get a massage. It must be crazy.
Real sports massage, real sports specific. You have real specialists there, which is such a beautiful thing to like see that in basketball in like one house. And also just like interacting with the players and whatnot. That was really cool. And just seeing my biggest thing there was like, I wanted to just really understand how a majority of them think, like how they go about their daily lives, their preparation, their on court when they are hit with adversity, like rallying the team together, just everything. I was just very observant. It was a dream come true, and like all I really cared about was just learning, like just learning as much as possible, and just complimenting, adding value at the end of the day. Nothing like, because I knew if I went into that with the mindset of I need to make this team, I need to score X, Y, Z, like, I would have put so much pressure on myself that who knows what have happened. But don't get me wrong, I'm still a hooper at the end of the day. There are times where it's like, okay, I need to get a bucket, I need to hit this shot, like get this board, get a stop, like stuff like that. But yeah, that experience was just so like just breathtaking. You walk in and like I remember like, my first time sitting in the locker, and I'm just like, there's a whole bunch of gear in there, and I'm just like smelling it, just like.
Weren't you like pinching yourself, like asking yourself, is this real?
Yeah, pinching myself, like, looking around, like, geez, like, whoa, like, oh my God. But yeah, it was magical, to say the least.
So you ended up being on the roster for a couple of preseason games. Where were they played? Were they also played at Madison Square Garden?
So they played both of them at Madison Square Garden. So running out through that tunnel was just like, whoa, that was like breathtaking. And just warming up on that court, like it's such a historical venue. Reporters and all the fans, like it was wild. It was wild. You see all the finance people around and stuff, like suits and celebrities. Like,
did you see any of the now McKenzie or JP Morgan people?
Yeah, I mean, they all saw on the New York Post my stories. So it was just like the wink moment.
So you end up being on the preseason roster, and then you got cut just like in front of the season. Did you, having found your middle, because now you meditate, now you're more grown or matured as a player, did that actually help accepting the situation that, yeah, it was a nice ride, but now this journey is kind of coming to an end?
I really felt like, I got cut at the end of the preseason. So literally the last day, I was the 16th of 15. Yeah, one spot. It's crazy, literally by a hair. But, at that time, I was still relatively young. There was a lot of emotions going on, a lot of emotions. And I really felt like I could have done something here. I could have done something. I don't know what it was, but I could have, I got cut at the end of the preseason. So literally the last day, I was the 16th of 15. Yeah, one spot. It's crazy, literally by a hair. But, at that time, I was still relatively young. There was a lot of emotions going on, a lot of emotions. And I really felt like I could have done something here. I could have done something. I don't know what it was, but I could have added value in some like aspect of, of the framework of the team. And, I really just like accepted it and was super grateful for the opportunity, because I really did learn a lot. And, it was just more along the lines of, if I get this opportunity again next year, I'm going to make this happen. Like, it's like, I'm certain, like, I'm going to do this. Because it really was, that role complimented me so much at the time, just being like a 3-and-D player, just playing defense, high IQ, just understanding the dynamics and just, really focusing in on, the tasks at hand. And yeah, I really like, obviously I was sad. I still had the idea and the drive to make something out of that experience, because, you don't just get that experience for nothing. You're supposed to learn from it and use it to, elevate you. And, I really tried to, as I continued playing.
And at the same time, it also kind of opened new doors, right? So now you come from having been in a preseason with an NBA organization like the Knicks, going to the next stellar organization in Austin, Texas, which is the G League team of the Spurs. So what would you say were like the most, like the differences between an NBA organization and a G League organization?
I would say, from the NBA to the G League, I mean, in the NBA, there's way more money. So you have so much more resources in terms of recovery, nutrition, training, et cetera, et cetera. But, in the G League, it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. The times where, the two-way and the assignment players are down, like I understand they have to use this opportunity to get a bunch of shots up, really like prepare themselves back for the NBA because they're bouncing up and down. So you don't, when that happens, you're not really, you don't really get much shots. And a lot of the times you're kind of out of rhythm. So it's really hard to kind of like, fast track yourself. It wasn't my personal favorite brand of basketball. But, when the assignment players are up, I would say the brand of basketball gets a little bit better. But, I mean, it definitely varies from team to team based off of personnel and coaching philosophies. But, with my personal experience, it was great to be there. But, was it my personal favorite? Probably not.
I mean, you travel quite a bit and jumped around between different teams, but yeah, maybe sometimes it's also not the ideal situation that you want to be in. Maybe it's the coach or the team that you play for is not ideal, but for me, I think it's so nice to cherish the fact that you get to travel the world and basketball opens so many different doors for you.
I would say it's honestly been, I would say that's probably one of my favorite things about it, just being able to travel and see different parts of the world, because I'm a very like open-minded person in the sense of like I like to learn about culture, art, and just like the overall like, scope of like a new ecosystem. And it started for me at an early age, like when I was about 16 or 17. I was selected for this like dual program between the team USA and like the Russian national team. So we all like, it was basically like 20 scholar athletes, male and female. We all went over to Russia and basically trained with all their different national teams from all the ages, from the professional with like David Blatt as the head coach and like Timothy Mozgov and all those other players, to just like seeing like how basketball can just take you places and so much and all that you can learn from just, different cultures while you're all over the place. And, there's the experience and stuff. Like, I think that's very important, because the world is huge. Like, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not that type of person to just stay in one place. Like I can, but I would prefer to go see the world. So yeah, that happened at a young age. So I guess it was kind of priming me for this, traveling the world and playing basketball.
That foreign exchange sounds very beautiful because I mean, Russia and USA, they don't necessarily have like the best relationship. So it sounds like a really nice experience. And you also played on the Maldives, right? How was that actually? Because that feels like playing basketball and being on a holiday at the same time, right?
That place was a dream, man. I tell you, that was basketball. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it was just, it was awesome. It was really fun.
On holiday and playing basketball.
Exactly. My agent at the time was like, just think of it as a paid vacation. And I was like, well, all right. And then when I went there, I was like, oh, he was actually serious. Like although I mean, our team, we did grind, like we did practice, but it wasn't like 2-a-days and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like very crazy like that. But the games were competitive. They were super competitive. But yeah, it was, beautiful. You go to lift in the morning, chill, eat, go practice. After that, sit on the beach, coconut, sip whatever your vice is. Just, it really, I really liked their philosophy of living too, because it's also it's a Muslim country. So
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So, alcohol and stuff is only on the resorts and like the hotels and stuff like that. But on the main island, it's very dry, and people obviously work, but it was very like, I would say the overall like experience was very like grounding. Yeah, it was, and it's just surrounded by beauty all the time, so it's nice.
And how was the day to day there? Was it like typical island life, or the people very structured? Like, because over here in Europe, everyone's kind of on their time, right? So for them, was it like more, oh, okay, we live into the day, or was it, how was it in general, the difference in the cultures?
Our driver at the time was hilarious, man. This guy would just straight face, just both hands, just like this. And if you say something to him, he'll just look at you. That's it. Just smile. That's it.
That's all you got.
Yeah, that's all, man. It was great. It was great, though. Yeah, shout out to the Raptors, man. It was great.
And now the last stop was Japan, before you had that Achilles tear, the injury. That was in Japan, right? How was that actually? I can imagine that playing in Japan, those people also really love basketball over there, right? How was that? Tell us about that experience.
That was a really good experience. I really enjoyed that. Especially because I always wanted to go to Japan. Like I've always wanted to go and like see Tokyo, go to Shibuya Crossing, like from Fast and the Furious, like just like little things like that. Like Dragon Balls, like all these different things. Eat sushi, have wagyu, and go to temples and stuff like that, which was really nice. The basketball was great. We had 2 other imports. Our Japanese players were pretty good. And, it was a good season. I would say it was a good season. I learned a lot, learned a couple words in Japanese.
Do you actually still remember some Japanese from that time?
Nah, I would just be like, watashi wa Jeff, and then genki desu ka? Like, I'm Jeff. Hey, what's up?
So one of the most interesting facts, or one of the reasons why we actually did this podcast, is that you told me that you're writing a book, or that a book is being published quite soon, about sports and meditation. Is sports and just in general meditation and mindfulness the only topic of the book, or are there also like other aspects that you cover in it?
So basically, I feel like it's when you talk about like what do you use, it's like it's a pretty personal thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in terms of the book, it's more about how mindfulness kind of transformed my life, and also just like a few like winning habits, just like habits that will just put you on pace to achieve things. Mm-hmm. And because I firmly believe that it's everybody's birthright to be happy and experience happiness, but part of experiencing that is understanding that like you need to be present and appreciate the things that you have, like cultivating that attitude of gratitude. But in terms of the therapists and whatnot, I would say that it varies between person to person. And part of that like process is taking that hard look in the mirror and understanding, like taking stock of the inventory. It's like, okay, I'm here. Do I want to go here or do I want to go there? And if I want to go here, what is the most efficient way to do that? And I think just by my personal experience, it is the best. It's we're here to work with each other, one another, and if there are professionals out there who can help expedite your process while educating you and giving you that emotional intelligence that you need, I think you should explore that avenue. However, for certain people, it's tough to open up to a complete stranger, a licensed professional. So it could be a bit of a daunting process. I did go to therapy, and I'm an advocate for it. But it's really on the person to figure out their framework and what works best for them. Because some people might not need a therapist; they just need a good friend. They might need a hobby. They might need an outlet. They might need better eating habits. Like, the list goes on. But the real merit of this conversation is really to find out what it is that you need so that you can drive your vehicle efficiently to get to the destination that you're trying to go to.
So the book basically also outlines like bad and good habits and different avenues that you can take to get to where you want to be, or your target, or your dream.
So basically, I kind of gloss over these through the lens of my storytelling. So because I don't want to be too preachy, telling people you should do this, you should do that, you should I don't want to say it's common sense either. Like, you shouldn't eat cookies before a basketball game, like a regulation game. But I really want to bring back that literacy where people can draw conclusions. They can read this story and be like, okay, well, if he did that, well, maybe, this is like an important, vital piece of information through this, this story, and then so they can, come to their own conclusions, because I really think that, part of reading and writing is you want it to provide some thought-provoking material, as opposed to just shoving it in somebody's face the whole time.
Do you kind of see the future after maybe basketball and all the other endeavors that you have of becoming a regular author and writing?
I really like storytelling. I really like having conversation with people. I like being around people who invest in themselves in terms of health, wellness, well-being, stuff like that. These are the types of people I want to be around. So just like Maodo, leading by example, I'm trying to embody, that ideology so that, I can inadvertently curate this new life for myself,
So I really want to thank you that you've been part of this podcast. I think you had some amazing insights for a lot of hoopers, not just hoopers in general, but also human beings in general that want to conduct maybe a more healthy and mindful life. I think there are a lot of valuable lessons. So it's been awesome, and hope to see you soon here in Berlin again.
You're a rock star with this, man. I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. Yeah, absolutely.